The grand hall of the Interstellar Assembly stretched wider than any human stadium. It floated at the center of neutral space, where gravity hummed softly and the air glowed with a faint blue shimmer. Every wall was alive with light, galaxies projected in motion, stars spinning like jewels. It was meant to represent peace among hundreds of species, but today, it felt like a cold monument of pride. Ambassador Daniel Reeves stood at the center platform, hands clasped behind his back. His formal suit bore the blue crest of Earth, a small circle representing their homeworld. Compared to the towering, shimmering alien envoys around him, he looked painfully ordinary. His short brown hair, tired eyes, and worn boots made him stand out like a worker among kings. But Daniel didn't mind. He was used to being underestimated. Human representative, croaked a voice from above. A tall, insectoid figure leaned forward from its golden chair. Its 6 eyes blinked slowly. You are here to speak on the matter of the new trade corridor, yet your planet has only joined this assembly 5 years ago. What right do you have to propose anything? The question was sharp, but the tone held no curiosity, only mockery. A ripple of quiet laughter passed through the room. Some alien delegates covered their faces with silver veils to hide their amusement. Others didn't bother. Daniel waited for the noise to fade. His translator chip buzzed in his ear, repeating the insult in his own language. He breathed in deeply before answering, because, he said calmly, we've learned that unity isn't built on how old you are, or how advanced your ships are. It's built on trust, and we're offering ours. Silence followed for a heartbeat. Then came the murmurs again. Disbelief, irritation, even pity. Trust, said another alien, this one resembling a column of living smoke. Humans burn their own forests. You fight among yourselves, and now you want to teach the galaxy about unity? Daniel met its gaze, even though it had no eyes. Yes, he said, because we've made mistakes. We know what division costs. For a moment, his words floated in the hall, fragile as a candle's flame. Then the assembly's leader, a crystalline being known as the High Speaker, tapped the staff against the floor. The light dimmed, and the meeting moved on, leaving Daniel's proposal ignored. And buried under layers of bureaucracy. The human ambassador returned to his seat at the far edge of the hall. He didn't show frustration, but inside, he felt the weight of invisibility pressing down. Every time he spoke, it felt like shouting into a storm no one cared to hear. High above the main platform, seated among her people's delegation, Princess Erin watched in silence. The Elendari were known as one of the oldest species in the galaxy, tall, graceful, and crowned with silver markings that shimmered like moonlight. They moved with the calm of rivers and spoke with the patience of time. To them, emotion was something to be controlled, never displayed. Yet Erin felt something stir within her, curiosity, unlike the other delegates. She didn't laugh at the human. She had read the reports on Earth, how the species had risen from primitive conflict to spaceflight in a few short centuries, how they had survived despite plagues, wars, and near extinction. She admired their will, and this man embodied it. While others mocked, he stood still and steady, never raising his voice, never retreating. Erin leaned toward her advisor, an older Elendari named Vathir. This human, she whispered softly, he speaks with conviction. Why do the others despise him so much? Vathir's crystal blue eyes turned toward her. Because, Princess, they fear what he represents, unpredictability. Humans are still new to peace. They act without permission, they feel too deeply, and they refuse to bow. Erin looked down again at Daniel. Perhaps that's what makes them strong. Her advisor frowned. Strength without wisdom leads to ruin. Do not forget that. But Erin's mind was already elsewhere. After the session ended, most ambassadors drifted away in bright trails of light to their private chambers. Daniel gathered his documents, but before he could leave, a soft voice reached him. You spoke bravely today, Ambassador. He turned, startled. Standing before him was Princess Erin, tall, radiant, her silver white hair floating gently as if in water. Her presence carried both elegance and sorrow. Daniel quickly bowed his head in respect. Thank you, Your Highness, he said carefully. Though I'm not sure anyone listened, I did, Erin replied with a faint smile. Your words about unity, they were sincere. Daniel blinked. No one had said that to him since he arrived here months ago. That means a lot, Princess. I thought sincerity wasn't fashionable here. Aaron's smile widened slightly, then faded. It isn't. Not anymore. They walked together through a quiet corridor, where the transparent walls showed the endless ocean of stars outside. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence felt peaceful, not awkward. You humans are different. Aaron said softly, your species feels alive. You speak of trust even when no one trusts you. Daniel gave a short laugh. That's the only way we know how to keep going. Aaron studied him carefully. Your world suffered much before reaching the stars, did it not? More than we like to remember, he said. But maybe that's why we fight so hard for peace now. Her eyes softened. Among my people, peace became a habit. We forgot how precious it is. Daniel nodded. Then maybe we can remind each other. The princess stopped walking, her gaze meeting his, perhaps, back in her private quarters. Aaron stood before the wide window overlooking the assembly's shining rings. Her thoughts refused to settle. She had spent her whole life surrounded by polished manners and perfect logic. Yet none of it ever moved her heart, until today. Why did this human's voice linger in her mind? He had no power, no influence, no glowing armor of technology. And yet, when he spoke, the air itself seemed to shift. His honesty cut through centuries of cold politics like sunlight through glass. Strange creature. She whispered, you make me believe again. Meanwhile, Daniel sat alone in the visitors' lounge. The assembly lights outside dimmed as the artificial day cycle ended. He rubbed his eyes, exhaustion creeping in. Every word he had spoken today felt wasted, but he couldn't give up. Earth had sent him here to prove that humanity could stand among the stars, not as conquerors, but as equals. He glanced at the data pad before him, showing the long list of rejections from other ambassadors. No progress, no support. Still, a small smile found its way to his face. At least one person had listened. That night, Aaron opened her communication panel and hesitated before sending a message. It was a short one, written in the neutral diplomatic format of the assembly. Ambassador Reeves, if you are willing, I would like to discuss your proposal privately. Princess Aaron of the Alindari. On the other side of the hall, Daniel's console blinked with the message. He read it twice to make sure it was real, then leaned back in surprise. A member of the Alindari royal family wanted to meet him. That was unheard of. He typed his reply slowly, smiling to himself. Your Highness, I'd be honored. Daniel. Reeves as the artificial night deepened across the station. To distant souls, one human, one Alindari, found themselves thinking of the same thing. Maybe the galaxy wasn't as divided as everyone believed. In the heart of cold diplomacy, a small spark had begun to glow. Quiet, fragile, but undeniably human. And it was only the beginning. The next day began with the soft hum of the assembly's energy field awakening from its sleep. Golden light poured through the glass corridors as hundreds of alien delegates floated, walked, or glided to their morning sessions. The atmosphere was calm, but beneath the surface, quiet tension filled the air. Daniel Reeves walked through the hallway with his data pad under his arm. He had barely slept. The message from Princess Aaron still replayed in his mind. It was simple, polite, and diplomatic, yet it had felt different. It wasn't the kind of message that came from duty. It came from curiosity. He reached the Alindari sector, a place unlike any other in the station. The walls glowed softly like moonstone, and the air smelled faintly of crystal rain. Guards in silver armor bowed as the human approached. He had expected them to stop him, but instead, they let him pass after scanning his identity. Inside, Princess Aaron waited in a quiet garden dome, surrounded by tall, glowing trees. Their leaves shimmered blue, and gentle streams of light floated between them like fireflies. Daniel felt as if he had stepped into a dream. Aaron turned when she sensed his presence. Her long white robes reflected the soft glow of the dome. She smiled faintly, calm, graceful, but with a hint of warmth in her silver eyes. Ambassador Reeves, she greeted. Thank you for coming. Daniel bowed slightly. Thank you for inviting me, Princess. I wasn't sure if the message was real. I didn't think Elendari royalty met with outsiders alone. Aaron smiled again. Usually, we do not. But I find that rules can sometimes blind us from truth. Daniel chuckled. I agree. Humans break rules all the time, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. They sat across from each other at a stone-like table that seemed to grow naturally from the floor. The moment was quiet, peaceful. For the first time since he arrived at the assembly, Daniel didn't feel like an outsider. Your speech yesterday, Aaron began softly, was brave. You spoke of trust as if it were something that could survive in a place like this. Daniel looked around at the shining hall beyond the dome. I guess I just have to believe it can. Humanity spent centuries fighting over everything, land, power, even beliefs. But in the end, we realized we only survive when we trust each other. Aaron's gaze softened. My people were once like that. Long ago, before the stars were ours, the Elendari were divided. Then we learned peace. But over time, peace became emptiness. Daniel tilted his head. Emptiness? Yes, she said. We stopped feeling passion. We stopped dreaming. We avoided conflict so much that we forgot courage. Her words surprised him. He had always imagined the Elendari as perfect, wise, united, eternal. Yet here she was, speaking as if that perfection had a hidden sadness. Aaron looked up at the glowing canopy above. I read about Earth, about your explorers, your artists, your scientists. You reached for the stars not because you must, but because you want to. That desire, it fascinates me. Daniel smiled. That desire comes with pain too. We fail a lot before we succeed. Perhaps that is why you grow so fast, she said quietly. For a long moment, they sat in silence, listening to the soft hum of the dome. It felt like the beginning of something fragile. An understanding between two souls who came from worlds apart. Later that day, Aaron returned to the Elendari Council chamber. The elders were already gathered, their expressions calm but sharp. Elder Vathir, her advisor, stood at the center. Princess, he began. We heard you met the human ambassador privately. May we ask why? Aaron bowed her head respectfully. To learn, Elder. He speaks for a world that deserves to be heard. The chamber filled with low murmurs. One elder, her skin shimmering with golden lines, frowned. Humans are reckless. Their emotions control them. They bring chaos wherever they go. Perhaps, Aaron replied, but chaos can lead to change. And change can lead to growth. Vathir's voice deepened. Be careful, Princess. Compassion is noble, but attachment is dangerous. The Elendari must not entangle themselves with species still learning control. Aaron's calm expression didn't falter. If control means silence, then perhaps we have controlled ourselves too much. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. Vathir sighed. You speak like one of them. She smiled softly. Perhaps I have learned something from them already. That night, unable to rest, Aaron walked again through the quiet corridors of the assembly. She stopped before the wide observation window overlooking the nearby star cluster. The universe shimmered like a sea of diamonds. She remembered Daniel's words, we only survive when we trust each other. Her heart, long trained to feel nothing but calm, began to beat faster. For the first time in many years, she felt alive. She didn't understand why, but she wanted to see him again. Not for politics, not for duty, but simply because she enjoyed hearing him speak. The next morning, Daniel was surprised when Aaron appeared at the human sector. Her arrival drew attention from everyone, guards, diplomats. Even the maintenance bots paused to stare. No member of the Elendari royal family had ever visited the humans' quarters. Aaron seemed unaware of the stares. Ambassador, she said gently, I came to see your work. May I? Daniel smiled, a little awkward but happy. Of course. It's not as beautiful as your garden dome, but it's home. He led her inside the human operations room, a small chamber filled with screens, maps, and communication arrays. The walls were simple gray metal, nothing elegant or glowing. But Aaron looked around with curiosity, her eyes filled with genuine wonder. So this is how you manage your world's connection to the stars, she said. Yes, Daniel replied. It's not perfect, but it works, Aaron touched one of the holographic panels, watching as it displayed a map of the Milky Way. "It isn't perfect," she said softly, "but it is alive." "I like that," Daniel laughed. "That's one way to describe humanity, imperfect but alive." They spent hours talking about human history, music, and art. Aaron listened closely, fascinated by the idea that humans created beauty even from struggle. When Daniel played an old recording of a piano melody, she closed her eyes and smiled. "This sound," she whispered, "it feels like memory." "It's beautiful," Daniel nodded. "It's called Claire de Lune. It's from Earth, one of our oldest songs about the moon." For a moment, neither spoke. The music filled the air, soft and gentle. Something unspoken passed between them, not romance yet, but a quiet bond, as if both realized they had found someone who understood what the other was missing. By the time Erin returned to her quarters, word of her visit had already spread through the assembly. The gossip was fast and cruel. The princess of Elendari is spending time with the human. Has she fallen under their influence? Such behavior is unworthy of her station. Erin ignored the whispers, though each one stung like a spark on glass. She sat by her window again, watching the endless stars. Why do they hate what they do not understand? She murmured. She thought of Daniel again, his quiet strength, his honesty, his refusal to give up even when the galaxy ignored him. In him, she saw something her people had lost long ago, the fire to keep believing, no matter how cold the universe became. The next day, Daniel received an urgent message. The Assembly would soon vote on whether to exclude Earth from the upcoming Defense Council, a move that would isolate humanity from interstellar trade and protection. It was a political attack disguised as bureaucracy. When he told Erin, she looked genuinely worried. They cannot do this. Humanity has done nothing wrong. Daniel sighed. They can, and they will. We're too small to matter to them. Then I will speak, Erin said firmly. Daniel looked at her, surprised. Princess, if you defend us, your own council might turn against you. Erin met his eyes without hesitation. Then let them. Someone must speak the truth. As she left to prepare her speech, Daniel watched her go, her silver robes flowing like starlight. For the first time since arriving at the assembly, he didn't feel alone, far from her own people. The forgotten princess had chosen to stand beside a human no one respected, and though neither of them could see it yet, that single act of courage would soon begin to change the fate of worlds. The assembly's halls, usually calm and orderly, erupted in tension like a storm breaking across a quiet sea. Alarms sounded, holographic screens flickered, and red warning lights bathed the corridors in a harsh glow. A swarm of unknown alien ships had entered the outer rim of the neutral zone. Their shapes were jagged and insect-like, moving in synchronized waves. The assembly called it a border threat, but for Daniel Reeves and the human delegation, it was an urgent call to action. Daniel watched the live feed, his jaw tight. Earth's small fleet had been deployed to nearby sectors, but the swarm vastly outnumbered them. He knew the humans could not face this alone. Hundreds of ships were needed, more than Earth could provide. Ambassador Reeves, a voice said behind him. He turned to see Erin standing at the entrance, her silver hair slightly disheveled, her robes catching the red glow from the alert lights. I came as soon as I heard. How bad is it? Daniel gestured to the feed. We can hold the swarm off for a short while, but without help, they will overrun the border systems. Hundreds of lives are at risk. Erin's eyes narrowed. Then we must act. I will speak to the assembly, my council, and demand aid. Daniel hesitated. Princess, if you do that, your people may turn against you. They've already whispered about your friendship with me. They might see this as betrayal. Erin's face was calm but determined. I will not watch innocents die because of fear or pride. If my people cannot act, then we will act together. The Elendari Council convened in an emergency session. The room sparkled with silver light, as if the very walls were judging each word spoken. Elder Vathir's expression was stern. You intend to involve humans directly? He asked. Do you understand the risk? They are inexperienced and reckless. They are brave, Erin replied. And they are willing. The humans may be young, but they are quick, resourceful, and they value life. One elder, tall and sharp-eyed, hissed, "We cannot ally ourselves with them. Our traditions forbid such recklessness." Aaron's voice grew firmer. "Our traditions cannot allow us to sit idle while the innocent suffer. Either we fight together, or we watch as the swarm destroys everything in its path." The council murmured. Some looked fearful, others shocked. Vathir's eyes, usually full of calm wisdom, now betrayed uncertainty. "You risk everything, Princess." "I risk what must be risked," she said simply. Daniel had returned to the human command center, preparing strategies and fleet positions. He stared at the star maps, plotting routes, and calculating risks. Humanity's ships were small and fast but lacked advanced weaponry. Against a swarm of this size, they would be overwhelmed within hours. Aaron entered silently, standing beside him as he worked. "You cannot do this alone," she said. Daniel shook his head. "I will do what I can. We are humans. We fight, adapt, and survive." But his voice faltered. "Even we cannot hold this on our own." Aaron placed a hand on the console. "Then we will combine our fleets, Elendari ships and human ships together. We can turn chaos into strategy, your tactics and our telepathy. We can give every ship a chance to survive." Daniel looked at her, admiration rising. "That might actually work." Her eyes held a quiet smile. "Then let us not waste time." Outside the assembly, the swarm drew closer. Jagged ships moved like living shadows through the void, their weapons glowing faint red. Panic swept across the bordering colonies. Civilians fled to shelters, while border fleets scrambled to defend. The galaxy watched, expecting the humans to fail. And yet, as the Elendari fleet appeared beside the human ships, a ripple of surprise passed through the swarm. Silver and blue ships glided into formation, elegant and precise. Telepathic coordination allowed every Elendari captain to sense threats before they occurred. Daniel took a deep breath. "All units, prepare for engagement. Keep tight formation. Trust your instincts, and trust each other." For Earth, for the galaxy, the first wave of swarm ships attacked. Energy blasts streaked across space, and explosions illuminated the darkness like fireworks of destruction. Human and Elendari ships moved together as one, a symphony of firepower, speed, and coordination. Aaron's voice reached Daniel in his mind, soft but commanding. "Focus on the lead ships. Protect the borders. We can contain them." For the first time, Daniel felt hope, raw, unstoppable hope. Hours passed as the battle raged. Ships were destroyed, and lives were lost, yet every human and Elendari captain moved with purpose. The swarm, though vast, began to falter under coordinated strikes. Daniel watched one of the swarm's main vessels, enormous and jagged, falter under combined fire. "We can do this," he shouted, not needing a translator. The humans around him cheered. Aaron's telepathic guidance reached each ship, predicting enemy maneuvers and allowing precise counterattacks. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Even the elder races of the assembly, watching the battle from their distant chambers, paused. Some leaned forward, whispers spreading through the halls. "Perhaps the humans are not as weak as we thought." During a brief lull in the fighting, Daniel and Aaron's ships hovered near each other. Debris floated in the void, illuminated by the stars. Neither spoke at first, both exhausted but relieved to survive another wave. "You did this," Daniel said quietly. "You risked your people to stand with us." Aaron shook her head. "We did this together. You fought bravely, Daniel. Without your people's courage, this victory would not be possible." He smiled faintly. "I don't know if I'm used to being trusted like that." "You should get used to it," she said. Her gaze softened, just enough to let Daniel feel something beyond respect. Sometimes, the smallest voices carry the strongest truths. Daniel nodded, feeling a connection he could not explain, a bond forming across species, across centuries of separation. As the swarm retreated, the aftermath revealed the cost. Many ships were lost, colonies damaged, but the border systems survived. The galaxy had witnessed something unexpected, humans and Elendari standing together, turning what seemed like inevitable defeat into a hard-won victory. In the quiet that followed, the assembly's chambers were filled with whispers. Delegates who had ignored Daniel now watched him differently. The ancient races could no longer dismiss Earth as inconsequential. But Daniel didn't celebrate. He knew the victory had only been possible because of Erin. Without her courage, her willingness to defy tradition, humanity would have been alone. He looked out from his ship's observation deck, seeing her flagship nearby, shining like silver lightning against the dark. "You saved us," he murmured, "and you inspired me." She replied, her voice calm but full of warmth. The two of them, so different and yet so alike, shared a quiet moment amid the stars. They were not yet friends in the full sense, not yet companions in the way that only time could reveal. But in that silence, they understood each other, a spark of trust, hope, and admiration bridging species and worlds. Later, as the fleets regrouped, Erin returned to her people. The council awaited her report. Elder Vathir's expression was unreadable. "You disobeyed orders," he said simply. "I saved lives." Erin replied, "That is my duty." The elders muttered among themselves, some angry, some reluctant to admit her success. Vathir's gaze softened slightly. "Perhaps. Courage does belong to those willing to act, not just those willing to sit in judgment." Erin bowed once more. "And perhaps the galaxy needs more than judgment. It needs trust." That night, Daniel sat alone, reviewing fleet damage reports and planning repairs. He felt exhausted, yet a strange energy coursed through him. Humanity had proven something, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. They could fight, survive, and stand alongside the greatest races of the stars. A message appeared on his console. It was from Erin, Ambassador Reeves. "Tonight, I witnessed bravery, trust, and the possibility of change. Thank you for reminding me why the galaxy is worth saving." Princess Erin. Daniel stared at the message, a small smile forming. Her words were more than gratitude. They carried hope, a hope that neither could yet define, but both felt growing between them. As he looked out at the stars, Daniel thought of the countless worlds watching, the countless lives that depended on courage and trust. And he knew that the story of humanity in the stars was only beginning, somewhere far away. Erin looked at her own observation window. She thought of Daniel, of Earth, and of the new possibilities that had opened. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them next. And she knew this. The bond they had begun to form would not be easily broken. The void of space was alive with motion. Human and Elendari ships moved together in tight formations, their engines casting long, silver trails across the darkness. The swarm had returned, larger, faster, and more dangerous than before. Every fleet commander knew that the next few hours could decide the fate of dozens of systems. Daniel Reeves stood on the bridge of the Starlight Horizon, Earth's flagship. His hands rested on the railing as he scanned the tactical displays. Beside him, Erin appeared, her presence quiet but undeniable. Her eyes shone with determination, silver light reflecting off her robes. "They've adapted," Daniel said, voice tight with concern. "The swarm is learning from our last encounter. They'll target weak points in the formation." Erin placed a hand gently on his arm. "Then we must adapt faster. Trust your fleet, Daniel. Trust your instincts. And trust me." Daniel nodded. It was a strange feeling, trusting someone from a completely different species, someone who had once been considered a sideline princess. But after what they had achieved together, he had no doubts. The first wave of swarm ships approached like shadows stretching across the stars. Their weapons flared with red energy, cutting across the void like jagged lightning. Human ships darted forward, firing in tight, coordinated bursts. Elendari ships moved with elegance, their telepathic guidance allowing them to predict the swarm's maneuvers before they occurred. "Target the lead ships first," Daniel shouted. "Keep formation tight. Protect the civilians in the border colonies." Erin's voice resonated inside his mind, calm yet commanding. "Focus your attacks here. Protect the edges. Use your speed advantage. We can win this." The fleets moved like a single organism, human ingenuity combined with Elendari precision. The swarm, vast and relentless, was met with unexpected strength. Explosions lit the void, debris drifting like fallen stars. Hours passed. Ships were destroyed, engines burned out, and alarms screamed across every bridge. Daniel and Aaron's coordination prevented panic from spreading. Every move was calculated, every command deliberate. From the observation deck of the Starlight Horizon, Daniel watched the chaos below. "We're pushing them back," he said. "But there are too many. We can't keep this up forever." Aaron's eyes scanned the battlefield. Her mind linked to the Elendari commanders. "Then we must change the battlefield. Draw them into a choke point near the asteroid belt. Their numbers won't help them there." Daniel's brow furrowed. "It's risky. They could destroy the colonies if we move them incorrectly. But we have no choice." Aaron replied firmly, "If we stand still, they will overwhelm us. We must act boldly." Daniel swallowed. Boldness was part of humanity, but fear had a way of creeping in even for the bravest. Yet looking at Aaron, seeing her unwavering resolve, he found courage. "All right," he said. "Let's do it. Move the fleets toward the asteroid belt. Everyone, follow the plan. Stay focused." The fleets moved as one, weaving through asteroids that glittered like distant suns. The swarm followed, unprepared for the narrow path and the ambush that awaited them. Explosions echoed as ships collided with debris or were struck by coordinated fire. The swarm's formation broke apart, confusion spreading like wildfire. "Now!" Daniel shouted. Human and Elendari ships fired in unison, their attacks precise and devastating. The swarm's lead ships were destroyed, causing chaos among the others. The battle raged, but the tide had turned. Aaron's voice, calm and confident, guided every move. "Cover your flanks. Protect the stragglers. Keep moving forward. Victory is possible if we act as one." Daniel felt the thrill of hope he had never known. For the first time, the humans were not alone. They were part of something larger, something greater, a partnership that bridged species, history. In doubt, even the elder races of the assembly watched in disbelief. Their long-held prejudices began to crumble as they saw humanity's courage. Paired with the Elendari's wisdom, whispers ran through the halls. Perhaps the humans are not so weak. Perhaps they are worthy of trust. Back on the bridge, Daniel and Aaron exchanged a look. No words were necessary. The bond they had formed was evident in every movement, every command. "You are extraordinary," Daniel said quietly, "and you inspire courage in others." Aaron replied, for a brief moment. The void seemed peaceful, though explosions continued in the distance. Two leaders, from two different worlds, had found understanding in the middle of chaos. As the battle reached its climax, a massive swarm ship, larger than any before, emerged. Its red energy pulsed like a heartbeat. It was the command vessel. Daniel frowned. "That's the heart of the swarm. Take it down, and the rest will retreat." "But it's heavily armored," Aaron nodded. "I can guide your fleet to exploit its weak points, but someone must lead the strike personally." Daniel hesitated. His voice faltered, but then he realized there was no choice. "I'll lead the strike. You will not be alone," Aaron said firmly. "My flagship will accompany you. We act together." Daniel nodded. "Then let's finish this." The combined strike was breathtaking. Human and Elendari ships weaved through space debris, dodging the swarm's energy blasts. The command vessel fired massive beams, but Aaron's telepathic guidance allowed them to anticipate and counter. Daniel led the final attack, firing carefully calculated volleys at the ship's weak points. With a final, coordinated strike from both human and Elendari fleets, the vessel exploded in a dazzling display. The swarm scattered, leaderless, and fled into the darkness. The border systems were saved. The victory was hard-won, but absolute. The aftermath was silent for a moment. Human and Elendari ships hovered in space, surveying the damage. Many ships were destroyed, crews lost. But the message was clear. Unity and courage could overcome overwhelming odds. Daniel exhaled, exhaustion and relief mingling. "We did it." Aaron stood beside him, her robes shimmering in the starlight. "We did it together. Humanity's courage. My people's guidance. This is proof that two worlds can achieve what alone they could not." Daniel looked at her, admiration and something deeper in his eyes. "You risked everything. Your people could have turned against you. They might," Aaron said softly. but I would rather risk disapproval than stand idle while others suffered. Daniel smiled faintly. You are remarkable, Aaron, truly remarkable. Her eyes softened. And so are you, Daniel Reeves. Perhaps the galaxy needs more like us, willing to act when others hesitate. Across the assembly, word spread quickly. Humans had survived, not because of advanced technology alone, but because of courage, determination, and the willingness of one unexpected ally. Whispers became admiration, even respect. The galaxy was beginning to notice Earth, and it was all because humanity had refused to give up. But for Daniel and Aaron, the real victory was not the recognition. It was the bond they had forged in the crucible of battle, a silent understanding that spanned the stars. That said, no matter how different their worlds, together they were stronger. Later that night, as fleets regrouped and repairs began, Daniel sat in quiet reflection. The stars beyond his ship were calm, twinkling like countless eyes watching him. A message appeared on his console. It was from Aaron, Ambassador Reeves. Today, we witnessed the impossible. Thank you for believing, for leading, for trusting. The galaxy may have ignored you before, but I have not. Princess Aaron. Daniel read the words and smiled. She had spoken more than gratitude. She had spoken trust, respect, and a bond that would endure beyond politics or power. He typed his reply, simple but sincere. Princess Aaron, and I have not ignored you. Thank you for standing beside us. Together, we have shown that hope is stronger than fear. Daniel Reeves. The message sent. He leaned back, letting exhaustion wash over him. Tomorrow, there would be more challenges. But tonight, the galaxy had seen what humanity could achieve when it refused to be ignored. In the beginnings of something extraordinary had begun to bloom between two very different souls. The galaxy was quiet for the first time in weeks. The swarm had been driven back, the border systems stabilized, and the fleets of humans and the Lindari repaired. Yet the calm was not empty. It was alive with unspoken tension, hope, and the realization that something profound had begun. Daniel Reeves stood on the observation deck of the starlight horizon, staring at the stars beyond. The void seemed endless, but in that darkness, he saw light, countless worlds, countless possibilities. The battle was over, but he knew the work of unity had only just begun. Aaron approached quietly. Her presence always seemed to command the air around her, calm and graceful, yet infused with strength. Daniel turned to face her. We did it, he said softly. Yes, she replied, her silver-white hair flowing like liquid moonlight in the glow of the observation windows. But it was not just victory against the swarm. It was proof that courage and trust can bridge worlds. Humanity and Lindari, working as one, can change the galaxy. Daniel nodded. It wasn't just you guiding us. Your people, your courage, it gave all of us strength. I didn't expect the assembly to notice, but it seems they have. Aaron smiled faintly, but her expression was thoughtful. They may notice, eventually, but recognition was never my goal. I wanted to protect life and to act when others would not. You remind me of what my people have forgotten: hope, determination, the will to act even when no one supports you. Daniel felt warmth in his chest at her words. She had always been calm, reserved, and wise. Yet here she spoke of courage and inspiration as if humanity were equal to her ancient civilization. You make me feel important, he admitted. Aaron's eyes softened. You are important. You showed me something long lost in my world, the power of action and sincerity. They stood in silence, watching the distant stars shimmer. Despite their differences, the bond between them had grown unbreakable. It was not a bond of duty or diplomacy alone, but of shared understanding and mutual respect. That night, the human delegation held a quiet celebration. Supplies were restored, minor repairs completed, and the fleet's leaders gathered to discuss future cooperation with the Lindari. Daniel moved through the room, exchanging quiet greetings, but his thoughts kept returning to Aaron. He found her alone on a balcony overlooking the vastness of space. The stars reflected in her silver eyes. Princess, he said softly, approaching, are you all right? Aaron turned, and for a moment, her reserved expression faltered. replaced with something more human, a hint of vulnerability. I am, she said, but I feel unsettled. Not in a bad way, I just never expected to feel this way after all these years. Daniel tilted his head. This way? Yes, she whispered. Alive, connected, inspired, by someone I never thought could reach me. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He understood. After the long battles, the political disdain, and the near destruction they had faced, the moment was fragile and precious. To beings from completely different worlds, yet their souls resonated with the same desire. To protect, to trust, to be understood. I never expected to feel that way either. Daniel admitted. Not from anyone here. Not even from anyone in my own world sometimes. Erin's gaze softened further. She stepped closer, so close that he could see the reflection of the stars in her eyes. Then perhaps it is fate, Daniel Reeves, that in all this chaos, we found each other. Daniel swallowed. Erin, for a long moment, words failed them both. The galaxy stretched endlessly around them, yet in that silence, they felt something infinite between themselves. Neither could deny the connection that had formed amid politics, danger, and shared victories. Erin's voice broke the quiet, soft and tender. Daniel, I have been ignored, sidelined, even forgotten by those I expected to protect me. But you saw me. You listened. You acted when no one else would. You are not just brave, you are extraordinary. Daniel felt a warmth spread through him. Princess, I've only done what humans do. We keep moving forward even when it seems impossible. But I never thought anyone, especially someone like you, would notice. Erin's eyes glimmered. She reached out, brushing a hand lightly against his arm. I have noticed, she whispered. And more than that, I trust you. I trust you with courage, with hope, and perhaps even with my heart. Daniel blinked. His chest tightened. He had never expected this, not in his wildest dreams, and yet, here it was, undeniable and real. Erin took a deep breath, stepping closer, lowering her voice until it was nearly a breath itself. Daniel Reeves, will you marry me? The words were simple, quiet, almost a secret shared only between them. And yet, the weight of them carried the gravity of 1,000 stars. The assembly, the galaxy, the battles, the politics, none of it mattered. In this moment, the future of two souls was being decided. Daniel felt his heart leap. Every battle, every moment of doubt, every dismissal he had faced led to this. He took her hands in his, steadying himself. Erin, yes, I will. Erin's eyes sparkled like the distant galaxies around them. A smile, soft and radiant, spread across her face. The tension of years of isolation, danger, and misunderstanding melted away. For the first time, she felt fully seen, fully understood, and fully alive. The next morning, the news of their bond spread quietly through the assembly. Delegates whispered, some shocked, others moved. The human ambassador and the Elendari princess had done the impossible. Not only had they saved the border systems together, but they had shown that trust, courage, and unity could transcend centuries of prejudice. Yet Daniel and Erin cared little for the whispers. They were focused on the future, together. Plans were made for continued cooperation between humans and Elendari, strategies for trade, diplomacy, and defense. But amid all of that, the personal connection they had forged remained the strongest and most unshakable truth. Later, as Daniel walked alongside Erin on the deck of the Starlight Horizon, he looked out at the stars. You know, when I arrived here, I never imagined any of this. The assembly ignored us, your council doubted you, the swarm threatened everything. And yet, Erin's hand found his, fingers intertwining naturally. And yet, here we are. Daniel smiled. And we did it together. You and me. Erin nodded. Together, they paused, silent, gazing at the distant constellations. No words were necessary. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown dangers and wonders, yet for now, two hearts have found a connection that neither distance nor species could sever. That evening, as the stars reflected off the observation windows, Erin whispered again, quieter this time, almost to herself, ignored by everyone, but not by you. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. Never by me. The two stood together, a human and an Elendari princess, at the edge of the universe, feeling stronger, braver, and more alive than they ever had. Together, they had faced war, politics, prejudice, and fear, and together, they had found hope, trust, and love, and in that quiet moment, as the galaxies turned silently beyond them, the beginning of a new story unfolded, a story of courage, unity, and the undeniable power of human spirit. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if the universe itself celebrated the bond that had formed. A promise whispered across space, a promise of partnership, respect, and a shared future. And though countless challenges would still come, one truth remained unshakable. They were together, and together, nothing could be impossible.